Where's the clapper? Is that it?
Clapper's in the suitcase.
Oh, Jesus. You are a guy who lives out of his suitcase. I've never seen anything quite like it. I mean, in the last couple of days, we've seen you from Puerto Rico to freaking New York. You've been up there with Charles Payne and Liz Clayman and the Clayman Countdown. And now you're where? You're in Utah or something? I mean, what the hell?
Deer Valley.
Yeah, that doesn't seem so bad, though. You're kind of a bit of a jet setter for sure.
No, Pete, it's I've got a fireplace on the other side of me over here. Nice. I've got a foot of snow outside.
Really?
Yeah, they got dumped. The bad thing is the resort doesn't open until December, as far as the ski resort. You know, the St. Regis, Deer Valley's open year round, and it's lovely. You end up pulling into the parking lot, Pete, and they have a funicular which takes you up the mountain to where the hotel is. That's so as you might imagine, the rooms can be kind of pricey in high season. In fact, I've never seen it available for a single day in February. And some of the rooms here, Pete, are up over $5,000 a night. So,
tell you what, the best of all the Housewives series is the ones from Salt Lake City, baby. I got to tell you something. You wouldn't think so, right? I mean, you got Beverly Hills, you got all these other places they are. The one from Salt Lake City, those gals are nuts. They're phenomenal.
Well, and one of them's my friend.
Oh, God.
Which yep. Meredith is my friend. Her son and daughter went to high school with my daughters, Pete.
Oh. So
Meredith Marks, Brooks is her son that's good friends with my daughter, Tristan. Oh. And they are a fun family. And boy, are they working that thing on Housewives. Holy crap.
That's a nice check, man. I tell you what, those things are so popular, John. Those people, those women are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode. I mean, I don't think they're suffering from the recession at all. And we're in one, by the way. But
yes, we are. Well, welcome to the Rebel Edge, folks. We appreciate you joining us. This is our first week ever with 4 broadcasts because we added yesterday, we added a Wednesday broadcast. So make sure you tell your friends about it. 1 p.m. Eastern time. We do the Rebel's Edge every day but Friday. All and right.
That could change, John. That time could change, you know.
It could. Yeah. Well, you know, because if I'm doing stuff with Clayman and with Charles and so forth, Pete, you know, I might have to start moving the show towards noon. We'll see.
Yeah, it seems like a good time to go. I mean, it seems like a wide open time. Why not?
Yeah, there's nothing else on unless you want to watch a guy eat a burger on air or I am telling you, Pete, I was falling out of my seat. Now, I'm not going to share the details with you guys here, though, because it's time for 1 minute macro.
Yeah, let's get it.
And the macro ain't going to be the burger. The macro, Pete, is going to be yesterday when I was on with Charles and we got that Fed reading and the basically statement from Jay Powell that said that I want to put a bunch of you out of work. I was saying I was buying the 3,800 puts in the SPX. Well, they went from $13, Pete, to 70.
Seems like a good trade.
Bang. Live on air.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. I mean, nobody else has the guts to do that, John. And that's the beauty about what you do for a living. What I do for a living is we actually do trade. We actually execute trades. But that was a great call. And I'll tell you, we knew about the 75 basis points. And what everybody was wondering was, what's Jay Powell going to say next? And what he said was, hey, you know what? We're going to continue to do what we've been doing, basically, in a nutshell. And because of that, all of a sudden we go from being up, 250 or more? Next thing you know, we close at the bottoms of the day around down 500. It was about 1,000-point move, John, the shifting in a very short period of time. It was unbelievable. And that truly was the influencer of yesterday. And then you come in today, you get the dollar starting to run to the upside again. Markets were down significantly. They bounced back a little bit on the back of energy, by the way. Energy is the leading sector, which is kind of interesting as the price of crude kind of slipped back down a little bit, and yet energy is still up about 2.5%. So
Yeah.
that's it for the macro minute from me.
Markets are forward looking. That's why, Pete. They're going to be higher prices for natural gas, higher prices for crude oil, which means gasoline and diesel, of course. All right. That's the 1 minute macro, folks. Let's dive in, Pete, to Roku, because these guys slammed down to a 52-week low. That was right around $44. They bounced about $5 off that level. But, you know, when you're a platform that reports results and those results are not anywhere near what Wall Street is looking for, they're going to punish you, and punish they did.
Yeah, you know, the recession concerns, John, hit a lot of different companies, right? But when you look at what Google had to say, what Snap had to say, what Meta had to say, and then all of a sudden you get this decline in terms of the guidance that they put out there, those are all major problems. That's why that stock got absolutely hammered to the downside. It hit, as you said, 52-week lows. It bounced off those pretty nicely. But nonetheless, if you look at where it was, John, a year ago, 52-week highs, and you take a look at where it is right now, there's a lot of good reasons why it's fallen the way it has, and it certainly has fallen to dramatic levels. But, you know, there's still something out there. There's still a business there. There's no doubt about that. But how's that business going to do in an environment during the holiday season where people are going to start putting their hands in their pockets and not doing as much in terms of spending as far as the ads go?
Yep. That is one of the big risks always with a company that's growing as fast as Roku has grown, Pete. But, you know, they're one of those rare companies in the space that actually makes some money from time to time, Pete.
Yep.
Just like Kevin O'Leary likes to say, I like money.
I'd like to
They're
see
not
him in a different outfit sometime, though. We got to talk to him about this black and white suit thing or whatever. He could throw on a golf shirt once in a while, couldn't he?
He could.
Yeah.
What about Qualcomm, Pete?
Yeah.
Down hard. Basically, they forecast that revenue would come in at about $2 billion. Wall Street was looking for a lot more than that. And even though I guess it was handset business, Pete, that was strong, some of their other businesses like chips that enable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth down hard. And that's the reason people are hitting the exits with both hands.
Yeah, there's been a really interesting season, John, when it comes to some of the semiconductor companies that have reported. In this case, you're talking about those handsets, and they did have a little bit of a kind of a dark cloud about what they saw coming in the future as far as that goes as well. So you combine that with the fact that they're looking forward, John, and the expectations, they look like they're going to be missing the expectations in a big way for the next quarter in terms of what they projected and what others were expecting. That doesn't look so great either. Now, this is a company that's had some struggles here and there. They had a great run with the handset world and with the smartphones and everything else. But if that's going to slow and that sort of a run is going to decline, that is why people are hammering the stock pretty good today.
Pete, at $100 or thereabouts, that was near the low today. It bounced back up to about 105. Would you take a shot on this one, or is this dead money for a while?
You know, this name, I've never much liked it, John. I think there are other names out there that I would far rather be in. But is it inexpensive? Yes. But it seems like it's always inexpensive. It's always been inexpensive. So, you know, for me right now, I'd be looking a little bit more at an NVIDIA or an AMD or something like that. I own some Micron. I own NVIDIA. But I like those names, at least right now, John, because if they're right about what they're projecting, you know, into the guidance that they've got, that does not look pretty at all right now.
Right. The stock's down 42% year to date, folks. I think you can be a patient buyer in the 90s, maybe even high 80s. And I think it will get there, Pete, because the handsets, you're seeing what they're doing to Apple today. Apple's not just handsets, it's everything, and they do a lot with their own chips, of course. But, you know, as Qualcomm goes, tech usually goes with it, Pete. All right, let's take a look at Etsy.
Yeah.
I love this company, Pete, and I know you don't. But they actually beat, you know, it's online crafts. So if you said, hey, I really want a a hat for Harry Styles or whatever that says "I love Harry" or any of that kind of stuff, chances are you could buy it on Etsy. They posted revenue of almost 600 mil, which was better than Wall Street expectations. And last night, Pete, they were up as much as 10% after they reported that revenue and top line beat.
Well, yesterday it was under 90. It's been as high as 300. Today it's somewhere close to 100. Year to date, it's down about 60%. And you talked about online marketplace that you kind of like to go. I got to tell you something. They sell more crap than anybody. But that being said, yeah, I think it is interesting, John. There is a huge short position in here as well. And I think that's helping the stock today because that never hurts when somebody gets anything positive. And they did have some positives in the quarter. They beat pretty strong on those earnings, John. They beat on the revenue pretty nicely as well, to your point. So when you've got those numbers going forward and you've got about a 10% short interest in a name like this, that does tend to squeeze things up a little bit. So that lift off of 90 back towards 100, the problem will be, all right, from here, where does this go? And that I think is something that we really don't know right now, but it is a good quarter. But I don't know going forward, John, will people start putting their hands in their pockets about some of those kind of buys as well? I don't know. I think the recession is going to get a little bit worse if we see those crude prices go higher, and that might take some of that money away from an Etsy.
I agree. So I would say that this is another one of them where neither after this big pop, Pete, I'm not a buyer. Right. I liked it in the 90s. I don't like it here. I think we get we use some patience and discipline on this one. Yeah. All right, Pete, Lincoln National. These guys missed for the last 4 quarters in a row. They have missed on estimates. You cannot do that and not be punished. And punished they are. The stock is just getting hammered here, Pete. Insurance claims and things are really, weighing on the company. And we're not talking the hurricane that Pete and so many people, got hurt by down in Florida, not Ian. We're talking about, things that were prior to Ian that are part of this quarter.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, John, I know that we're online, so I can say this. This is a shit show. I mean, it literally, this is a major issue. A year ago in this quarter, they earned $1.62, and now they really flushed this thing down, and it's gone down 30 some odd percent today. 52-week lows of $35. I mean, this is a stock that, I think insurance companies in general right now, John, I would not be touching any of them because I think there's a lot of different things in play here. One of them is health-wise. And what I mean by that is a lot of the health risks that are coming post-pandemic that I think could be a major factor. Then you add in some of the disasters as well, the Ians of the world, and there will probably be more. But you add in some of that, John, and I think that there's a lot of insurance companies, whether it's health insurance, whether it's, auto, whether it's home, all that. I think that we're in for some pretty interesting times. So I would not be touching any of these names right now.
Nope, I'm right there with you, Pete. They're primarily life insurance and annuities and things like that. This insurance company, but Pete's exactly right. All those other companies too. People are probably going to be dialing down the amount of their premiums if they can. In other words, that means they're going to shoulder more of the initial hit, whether it's for home insurance, whether it's for car insurance and so forth. Again, Lincoln isn't that company, but for life insurance and annuities, people might be taking a wait and see attitude. So I hate to be so negative, folks, but I am right with Pete on this. I am not a fan of Lincoln at this point. Right. All right, Pete, we do have the Miami event coming up. It is December 8th through the 10th. Jared's going to key up the video to show you guys exactly what you can expect, and then we'll talk about it after the break.
Introducing our new series of intimate in-person trading conferences in some of the greatest cities in America. It's Market Rebellion Live. First up, this December in Miami. Level up your trading with help from Pete Najarian, AJ Monte, Ryan Mastro, and Bill Johnson. Miami is limited to just 25 seats to ensure every guest gets personal attention. So act now. Tickets are...
You see that, Jared? He came back with it.
I had to go back over to the suitcase and grab the clapper, Pete. Officially, those are known as clappers. Mm-hmm. Not the one like your grandma uses, folks. Not the one where turn on the lights. But they are called clappers. Mm-hmm. Anyway, welcome back. December 8th through the 10th, Miami. You'll be able to be part of Art Basel. You'll be able to see 2 days of live trading from people that really do trade, not just people that talk about it on television. We really do trade, folks. We've got our butts on the line with the trades that we're talking about. So when we're celebrating, like, knock on wood, I was for that call on those puts, live on TV with Charles Payne, making money with Charles Payne at the Fox Business Channel, 2:00 yesterday. I'll post it again today. You can bet that. But when you win, you celebrate. When you lose, you cry and you move on. You use your discipline, move on to the next trade. But people on television that are talking about trades, they don't really feel the pain when they make a bad call on TV because they didn't buy anything. They didn't sell anything. We're guys that are putting our butts on the line, and we disclose it to you that we have bought this or bought that. So if you want to attend with us in Miami, 2 days of live trading, lots of great education, mentoring, coaching, all of that. And it's limited to 25 people. We've only got, I think they told me at the beginning of the week anyway, 9 spots left. So if you want to join us, do it now, folks. If you wait till after Thanksgiving, you'll be waiting for somebody's spot that's given up their spot because we'll be sold out. 25 goes pretty fast. So again, marketrebellion.com/Miami for real trading. All right, here's what we got, Pete. Unusual activity. You just talked about the insurers. I'm going to talk about mortgage companies. So NLY, they're buying puts like crazy in this one. Why? Because of Jay Powell. Because the Fed is going to keep the pressure on interest rates. They're not going to stop. They're not going to taper. They're going to keep it up. And it'll be higher for longer as far as interest rates. You know who that's bad for? Mortgage lenders, as well as companies that insure mortgages and all that stuff. Home buyers will be maybe backing off and waiting because homes are too expensive at the new higher interest rate they have to finance at. So NLY, 20,000 December 15 puts. A put is the right to sell at that strike price, 15. Stock's trading 17.5. So that's a bit of a drop. Do we have to go to 15 from 17.5? No. If we see a quick slam like next week, when I think we might, after the election and so forth, if we see a slam as far as people worried about mortgage companies and things like that, well, this is one of them. 2 million share equivalent short at 15. I'm in the trade.
So I've got one for you too, John. I've got Plug Power, and this one's pretty interesting. And before I even hit on that, I will say this. We talked about Google yesterday. It was the very first stock that hit for unusual yesterday on our systems. And I cautioned people. I said, hey, look, you get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and these expire. And they were buying the 86 puts in Google. Well, stock was 90 at the time, a new, fresh 52-week low. Today it's 85. Those calls went from 25 cents to well over $1. So just to give you a little idea of how fast things can move and how certain areas of technology, and by the way, Google, if you just looked at it on paper, wow, they look fantastic. If you look a little deeper and you see that some of the revenues are maybe slowing, they had some slowing with their YouTube, they had this, that, and the other, then you understand the full picture, which is, okay, it's an inexpensive company, but their growth is becoming a bit of a problem. That's why people are hammering on this stock. So they continue to do that. So Plug Power. We've got energy. We talk about energy all the time. This is clean energy, zero emissions, all of that. It's got about a 10% short interest, John, so it could jump pretty rapidly. These also options will expire on Friday. Which options am I talking about? I'm talking about the November 4th expiring 15.5 calls. Stock was trading about 15. They bought almost 12,000 of these calls today looking for a little bit of a pop to the upside. Doesn't mean it's absolutely going to happen. Absolutely not. But when you look at their balance sheet, yeah, they got about $2 billion of cash over debt. So that part of it's okay, but they do bleed cash. So that part's a bit of a problem. But for 20 cents up to 29 cents, fairly inexpensive shot for this one if the squeeze is in play and we start to see it go to the upside.
Well, and I think that I was remiss, Pete, for not giving you credit on that Google trade, because that was a great trade. Stock's down $6, folks, in one day from when Pete talked about it yesterday on our first ever Wednesday Rebels Edge for unusual activity. So again, these are things that if you're a subscriber to our services, you're in on them early. If you're watching Rebels Edge, you could have still acted on it yesterday, moved down by $6. Do you want to put up $90,000 on a short position in Google, or do you want to put up maybe $2,000 on some puts and profit from that drop in the stock? That's what we're talking about here. You can always check us out at Market Rebellion to learn more. All right, Pete, tell me a little bit about how bad you think things might have to get in college football for some of these top teams. We talked about it yesterday, for some of them to start falling out of the top four, which means, of course, the playoffs.
There's a lot going on still, John. There's a lot still to be played in college football. We all know that. We're only a little bit more than halfway through it so far, but 8 weeks in. And what's interesting is Alabama's kind of outside looking in right now. And they might have a bigger problem than people think, because it might not have to wait all the way until they play some of the other opponents, or if they get into their own SEC playoff. It might happen this weekend. Here's what I've got for you. How about this? You've got LSU out there. Now, LSU lost week 1, and suddenly the world said, you know what? Brian Kelly can't coach. He's lost whatever ability to coach there is. Well, he's done okay, actually, since then. They did lose to Tennessee, the same team that beat Alabama, the same team that is number 1 in the country right now. But you look at LSU, they're 6-2. They're a heck of a football team, John. They got this kid, Jaden Daniels, at quarterback, who, oh, by the way, he's got 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. He leads the team in rushing as well with a little over 500 yards and 9 touchdowns. He is a stud, and Alabama's going to have to figure out at LSU, can they stop this kid? They've got a great quarterback, Bryce Young, as well. They're a great football team. We know that, but they can't afford to lose and get 2 losses, John, because if they do, they'll have no chance at the playoff at all, I don't think. But that's what they face. So we've got 2 monster games this weekend. We got Bama at LSU, 7 p.m. on ESPN. That should be great. Tennessee at Georgia, CBS game. I think that's a 3:30 game, John. So I'll tell you what, I think the Tennessee-Georgia game is going to be the game of the year. But this Bama-LSU might end up being a really interesting game if LSU can kind of hang around and have a shot towards the end of the game. What do you think?
Well, as you've said, Pete, and I think Mel Kiper, your friend, who ranks all these players and so forth, he's always on the draft day show. Mel says the Alabama quarterback, Bryce Young, is the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. He's shown those flashes of greatness, Pete, and he certainly did against Tennessee, have some issues as well as some positives. They put up 49 points, but Tennessee ended up on top. I think that going and playing in Baton Rouge is one of the toughest spots to go to because those Cajun fans are crazy. And I'm not saying this is the Cajuns. I know it's the LSU Tigers, not the Louisiana Cajuns.
Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, the Raging Cajuns. I love those guys. But I do think, Pete, that the fans make a huge difference in this game, and it's a night game. It usually is anyway. It's at 5 p.m., so second half it'll be dark, and they'll be playing hard under the lights. First half, there'll still be some sunlight, but the lights will be on for TV. I like the game. I like the way you set it up. And Alabama can't make mistakes. No. You can't make mistakes in Baton Rouge and come out with a W. So that'll be the difference, Pete, is Bryce Young and do they make mistakes or not? What do you got in the NFL?
All right, so we're staying with Alabama in a way, John, because I'm going to talk about MVPs, and I'm not talking about just halfway through. I think potentially as we continue on, if he stays healthy, I've got a guy who's not just a dark horse. He ought to be the MVP of the league. We love Josh Allen, right? I mean, we think there's some great quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterbacks are always going to win Heismans. They're always going to end up winning all these things. Derrick Henry right now is the most valuable player for his team. And what do I mean by that? Well, they lost the first 2 games of the year, John. And the problem, in my opinion, was they didn't give him the ball enough. They gave him 34 carries in the first 2 games. So, basically you're getting what? 16, 17 carries per game if you averaged it out. And that's a problem. They lost both those games. All they've done in the next 5 games is, hey, let's run this big old horse for what we've got. This guy in 2020 was the offensive player of the year. He's a huge, very, very religious guy who wears it all in front of everybody. Great person, really does do everything on and off the field in a big way. But on the field, how about this? In the last 3 games, he went for 102, 128, and 219 yards. The guy is a stud, and when they put the game on him and allow him to carry the ball 30-plus times, that's a football team that's tough to beat because you know what, John? When you've got a 250-pound running back pounding the ball, chewing up the clock, taking up all that time, it makes it better for your defense. It makes it better for your quarterback. It makes it better for everything, including the fact that they've won 5 straight because of it. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, you know what? If people really open their eyes and they say, well, why is Tennessee suddenly a team that's actually competitive, leading in their division? I think it's all on Derrick Henry's back right now.
Yep. Well, Pete, just to show you, and I know he's on the injury report this week because he's got a foot injury. That doesn't mean he's not going to play. It's not that kind of injury yet, but he probably will see limited action, Pete. Last week, the kid carried the team on his back. I think it was like 220 yards on 38 carries. So what Pete always emphasizes, folks, is when you've got 38 plays on offense, and that's just the Derrick Henry plays, you're keeping the ball away from the other team a lot. It is difficult for them to go and play flawless ball and be able to score enough points to beat you. Because quite frankly, you don't get the ball that often. And if your defense is up to the task, that makes for a really bad day, a long day for the other team. I think it should be in the conversation for it for sure, Pete. And, some of the people that I thought could have been in there, like Diggs and some of the others, have faded off. So, yeah, I think Josh Allen, Mahomes, Derrick Henry, I think, all of those are deserving. And it's just a question of who stays healthy and who gets all the way through to the Super Bowl as well. And
John, we were talking, this is one last thing. It's a little bonus for everybody. Bradley Chubb, we talked about him. He got that great trade. He was part of this huge record amount of trades that went on at the trade deadline. He just signed a contract. Now, they did the trades on Tuesday. Today is Thursday. The guy extended his rookie contract, John. They must like him a little bit. They gave him a 5-year, $110 million extension. So it seems to me that these guys, the Miami Dolphins, are going all in this year and saying, you know what? We got a better defense. We've got a quarterback. We've got a lot of different positions out there. We think we've got a shot to maybe make a run towards the Super Bowl. And they want to have it not just for this year. They want to have a team that's built for the next few years. It's amazing. The money that's out there right now is amazing, but it's great to see. And it's great to see these young men that are all good people that I've seen at least so far, John. And this guy with 5 years for $110 million for Bradley Chubb, that doesn't sound so bad, does it?
No, sounds like a guy we'd like to manage the money for.
Yes. I'm going to give him a call.
All right. Hey, folks, thank you for joining us. We will be back Monday with another Rebels Edge at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, we might be viewing, we're trying to decide when we will make a move to a different time slot. That could be coming, but we appreciate all of you. 1,000 more people every week join the subscription over at YouTube, and it's free. You just go to YouTube, you click on the upper right-hand corner on the subscribe button. It is free. You get almost 3,000 videos, Pete's videos, my videos, our team's videos for education and so forth. It's a great way to take your trading up a notch. And speaking of which, of course, I'm going to say marketrebellion.com/Miami if you want to join us for 2 days of live trading. That's going to do it for us, folks. Have a good one, Pete.
Let's go.
We're out.